Welcome to the chapter with Michael all about the path of listening. I could not think about a better version of a person who researched so much. He wrote almost 66, maybe I missed some books about thinking and the process of thinking and the process of how to be better in a way. So welcome, Michael. It's an honor to have you as a guest today.
My privilege. I appreciate it.
Um, the first question I want to ask you, if you have any insight or any thoughts about how can we listen better from honestly the huge experience that you have with people.
Yeah. Well, probably the thing that prevents us from listening really well is we have we're we have so much internal talk. We're listening to ourselves instead of listening to someone else. And there's just all this chatter going on. So probably the most important thing is for us to get quiet on the inside and be present and to turn down all that internal dialogue.
So quiet and presence. Um, any thoughts, practices, way of going about it? Like,
So what Fritz Perls said was to lose our mind and come to our senses. And he was talking about the computer mind. That's how he phrased it, or the meta mind, the mind that we know so much. And the thing that prevents us from really learning is we assume we already know. So if we can start with that not knowing, maybe there's things I don't know. Maybe there's things I can learn. And if we can turn down our judgments, our expectations, our assumptions, then we can be more present and and listen.
wow. I just thinking about the influence that it could be if people will come from the point of, I don't know, maybe there is something for me to see or to discover. It's taking me to the question about, it's a little bit about writing, but what is the way or the process that you can bring that amount of thoughts or ideas or voices
Mm.
through you or knowledge through you to the world? Like,
So quite a few years ago, after I first learned NLP, I worked out the strategy for reading for writing, and both of them involved when I read a book. That's the only book I read. I read one book at a time, and as I read it, um, I'm taking notes. I'm stopping from time to time and thinking, what have I just learned? What do I think about what I just learned? And so I'm reading slow. I think we've been deceived by this idea that you got to do a lot of fast reading and do a lot of speed reading. And and when we do, we oftentimes are not learning all the things that we could learn from our reading. So I read one book at a time. Usually, the first time I read it through, I'm reading to with the not knowing frame of mind. Then the second time I read it, and I read every book twice. The second time I read through, then I have, as it were, an argument with the author as to what I don't agree with. So the first time I'm in a matching state of mind, looking for similarities, looking for what is new and different, and then the second time I'm reading through, looking at what I think is different from my perspective. So it creates a rich mixture um, of learning. Then when I write in one area. So usually my reading and writing is for a year, year and a half, sometimes 3 years in one area. So it might be leadership, might be self-actualization, might be coaching, My so whatever it is, usually it's a at least a year and a half, and sometimes much longer.
How do you choose those subjects? Like, why
Yeah.
specifically what you are working on right now and what it is?
Well, when I began, I decided I was going to read the grandfathers of NLP. So my first one was Korzybski, reading Alfred Korzybski, Science and Sanity, and then his other books. And so I just spent my time living with Alfred Korzybski until I could really comprehend how he was thinking. Because that's what I wanted to learn. I wanted to know not only what he was thinking, but how he was thinking. And after I finished Alfred Korzybski, then I went to Bateson, and I spent about 3.5 years with Bateson, reading all of his works, his unpublished manuscripts, and once again, trying to understand how he thought, because these were the really the foundational works that led to NLP. Later on, I did that with all of the NLP books, and then later with this, when I discovered that NLP came from the human potential movement, I decided I'm going to read all of the key readers, all the key thinkers in the human potential movement. So, getting through that, then I realized um, uh, if I'm going to do this, I need to create some wealth that's apart from the training, the coaching, the counseling. So then I spent a year on wealth creation, developed that. Once I had that kind of underway, then I realized a missing skill I had was I didn't know how to sell. So I spent about the same amount of time developing a strategy for selling. So it really came out of my personal needs as to why I selected whatever I selected.
So you're searching for what you need, and then you're searching for people that have a way or achievement in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going back and forth between creating what you need inside yourself and then transfer it to the world because it's a financial need on that regard.
Yeah,
Can
yeah,
give
basically.
example about techniques or stuff that you picked up from like Byton work, or what was the strategy and then how you implement it for people that are not familiar with neurosemantic or NLP?
So the basic NLP model of how NLP got started was um, going after three expert communicators, Fritz Perls, Virginia Satir, Milton Erickson, and trying to understand uh, how they could do therapy with language, that they could have a conversation with a person. And at the end of the conversation, the person could be transformed, renewed, healed. How could words do that? That was their question. And out of that came the first NLP model, the meta model, to explain how words can transform us. So once I learned that and learned that you could take those words and then model any experience, whether it's selling, whether it's creating wealth, whether it's leading, whether it whatever, then that became my passion. I just wanted to find out how pieces of excellence or pieces of expertise, how it worked and how I could make it work for me. And if I could make it work for me, then probably it could work for other people.
Wow. Okay. So that was, I'm curious, maybe it's the Israeli inside of me that asking about it, but if you encountered trauma or PTSD in all of the counseling or work process that you have with people, and then
No, no,
not a lot of people.
no. The very first modeling project I did as a modeling project was resilience. And I'm glad I did that because it really enabled me to know how not to get traumatized. And And so the question was, how do people go through a bad event, a trauma, a setback, a major loss, maybe health, maybe finance, maybe relationships? How do people go through there and not get traumatized? And when I found out how that works, because there are people who've gone through a hell of an experience and they don't get traumatized. And so once I found that and applied it to myself, then I'm not going to go through that. So there's a structure to being traumatized, and there's a structure to being resilient and being untraumatizable.
Tell a little bit about it. I'm very curious because we have a country that right now is under a consistent war that is not even like event that's starting and ending.
Yeah,
It's so the resilience piece of it, it's very, very significant for
yeah,
people daily life.
yeah. If I were to summarize it in just a few words, um, if something bad happens and you personalize it, it's about me. Now you brought the bad thing, the evil, into yourself, and now you're flawed, you're inadequate, you're the problem. And then if I bring it and I say it's forever, then I have no escape. And if I bring it in and say it's everywhere, so if I make it personal, pervasive, and permanent with those three P's, that's the structure of trauma. And if I reverse that, it's not about me. It may be I lost my arm. It may be I lost that job. I lost that loved one. I lost that money. But I'm more than money. I'm more than that job. I'm more than that hurt. It's not about me. It's that. And it's not everywhere. It's there. And it's not forever. It's then. So the three P's, personal, pervasive, and permanent, traumatize, and the three T's, that, there, then, keep the evil out. And now I've got a problem to solve, but it's just a problem to solve. And now I can go into problem solving.
It's very unique that when I was reading a little bit about all of your work to the level that I can comprehend that amount of work, but um, I'm curious in that regard if you have any beliefs or thoughts that are behind identity. Like, because
Mhm.
when I'm looking, few of your work is like, I don't want to say stopping the identity level, but you describe it like to the
Okay.
level of identity and then change the identity, the people will be in a different situation.
Right, right.
Through
Go
all of
ahead.
that research came up stuff that are above the identity.
Mhm. Well, in psychology, we know that really the first thing and the first construct we all create is self. And we create that by, for the most part, as children, I am who I see reflected in the people who's taken care of me. So if they see me as a loving person, as a person full of potential, um, and that I have worth and value just innately, then that becomes my identity. But if they say things like, I wish I didn't have you, you're such a trouble, you'll never amount to anything, what's wrong with you? Can't you use your brain? If they say things like that, then I take that in and I construct my sense of self as I'm inadequate, I'll never amount to anything, nobody will love me. And so we all learn to create ourself. It's the first self we do. And if we didn't have good parenting, if our parents didn't go through parenting 101 and learn how to do it well, we have such a handicap as we began. And then a lot of adult life will be reinventing ourselves to create an identity that we can live with.
So you're speaking about the importance of creating that. It's
Yeah.
bring me to another question on how the manual for a person that's just born, or what is the process that needs to be done or could be done to build. You
Oh,
said self-worth, you said self-love. What are the
yeah.
messages or that someone that want to learn that job and want to install the
Mhm.
ideal map of his reality, if you have any
Well,
patterns or strategy that he could use to install in himself to be better.
so the ideas are exactly what you're just saying. We need to have a sense that I'm valuable, I have human worth, and it's not conditional. It's unconditional human worth, that every human being is worthy because they're a human being. And then the sense of being loved by the people around us, loving and being loved, and then having a sense of I got a reason to live. I've got a purpose. I've got a I've got talents. I've got skills that I can develop, and that'll develop my self-confidence in what I can do. And then my social skills will develop my social sense that I'm accepted in the group, I'm valued in the group, and so the sense of self has so many different um, facets: my worth, my social self, my confidence in what I can do, um, my sense of I can contribute and I can keep growing. And so that would be the content. Now, how to do that would be uh, each of those could be belief statements. And then we could affirm the belief statement. Uh, Even if you don't believe it now, would you like to believe it? That's the question I always ask people. Do you believe that you're worthy? Well, no. Well, would you like to? Would you like to believe that you're lovable? You may have to learn how to be more lovable, but would you like to believe that you're lovable? So, if you would like to believe it, then let's turn it into a belief statement, and let's find reasons why you can make that come true for you.
So then it's shifting the focus. That sounds amazing. I'm
Yeah.
curious about how much, as a person who do NLP and neurosemantic and psychology, how much do you believe language is a key of
Oh,
change or a barrier
oh, oh,
for
yeah.
change?
It can be a barrier. If so, that's the tricky thing. Words are both magical and transformative, and they can be damning and condemning and creating a hellish life for a person. So being careful with our words, we live in, as the philosopher said, the existentialist, we live in the house of language, and probably 99% of all of our thinking is in words, and that's why checking the words and making sure they're they're clear, they're accurate, they're precise, they're they're beautiful, they're valuable, um, and cleaning up our language so we stop talking ugly to ourselves.
So we're saying to verify our way of communication with ourselves so it will be positive, helpful, in our favor. How much do you use words when you're treating or working with people, and how much of that change is coming from nonverbal work?
Well, so here's the thing about conscious words and consciousness. In NLP, we know that it's seven plus or minus two bits of information that the conscious mind can hold. Not very much, not very much at all. So the thing about consciousness, it's always seeking to become unconscious. So everything I learned, let's say in history, or I learned in mathematics or geography or whatever, right now I'm not thinking all that stuff. But all you have to do is ask me, well, what was the war that was fought in 1860? And then all of a sudden, somehow, it's like I'm reaching deep inside and pulling out that information that once was conscious, but a moment ago was unconscious. So we have all these programs and we can access so much of it. But what we can hold in consciousness is just 7 ± 2 bits. So consciousness is always seeking to become unconscious. When it becomes unconscious, then it becomes kinesthetic feelings, all the nonverbal things. So the the way I move, the way I interact with people, the way I express myself with my hands, um, is kinesthetic knowledge that once was conscious and now is not. So when we start asking how much is verbal, how much is not verbal, it's really a tricky question. Um, uh, so um, if we take any kind of words, let's say we want to communicate, I love you, I care about you, I respect you, and we know that non-verbally I can destroy my message by the wrong tone. I love you. We just mess it all up. And so it all has to work together when we say, I want to tell you that I really respect you. And and it can be congruent, or if it's not congruent, then it messes it up. I don't know if that answers your question at all, but
That's a lot, and that's giving me a lot to think about. But you're speaking about, first of all, matching and congruence and authenticity as a pattern. The
yeah,
other thing that I'm curious of, if there is a way, and you said about the patterns like muscle to memory to muscle, or
yeah,
muscle to memory. But I'm asking if, like, usually when people teaching NLP, they teaching it with language.
yeah.
And that's, I don't know if a weird thing, but if there is a way of teaching NLP, or a way to learn how to live those
Right.
presuppositions, so it will be more congruent.
So I think of it as a holistic thing. It's got to be verbal and nonverbal. So when I teach NLP, um, let's say I'm going to teach resilience. Um, we do a resilience training that we do. So so then I take those 3 P's. I use language, personal, pervasive, permanent, and I'll say, there's that bad thing out there, and I'll always send it out. It's out there. It's not here. But if I bring it in and make it personal, it's about me. It's forever. It's everywhere. But if I keep it out there, it's that. It's there. It's then. So I'm using both language and a nonverbal kind of expression, and now I can do some metaphorical kind of things like, let's imagine a sphere and we keep the bad thing out there so that in here you can stay healthy and alive and authentic and congruent and powerful and learning and growing and just everything resourceful. Now I'm in a place I can solve that problem. So I'm doing both verbal and nonverbal. Um, and I think that's the only way to teach NLP. And so when I teach NLP, I ask people, I said, do it with me, put it out there. What was that thing that you torment yourself? Get it out, put it out there. Don't bring it inside. Because if you bring it inside, then you'll have a likelihood of confusing. Is that me? Am I the problem? And if you're the problem, then there's really not much you can do to solve it.
That's very, very unique. And the only thing that's common to all of us, all of our problem, is identity, like
Yeah,
when we are
yeah.
inside. Wow. I think
So
Yeah.
So another way that we teach NLP, we use that mind to muscle pattern that you mentioned. So I'll say, what do you know? What do you know? That you know that that's the truth. Like people should be respected, people should be honored. So you know that. Do you believe it? So now I'm going to put my hand on my chest, whereas I was just doing kind of the intellectual thing. I know it. Do I believe it? Let me see. I believe people should be respected. I believe I should be respected. I believe I should respect. Okay, so I believe it. Now it's emotional. Have you decided that that's how you're going to live? Raise your right hand, repeat after me. From this day forward, I am going to be respectful of people. So, what are you feeling? Take those feelings, whatever that feeling is, excitement, anticipation, whatever it is. And if that's energy, then what are you going to do? Well, it's one thing you could do today to make that real. So tell me what you're going to do. Now it turns into action. And so we think of that as um, a pattern for how to get something in your mind deeply into your body and then into your behavior so that you live it and it becomes a way of being.
I remember in one of your book, I'm not remember where it was, but you describe a way of doing coaching using sport. You remember?
Using
Sport
um,
work, walking, or
uh,
like that you are walking with people
uh-huh,
on
yeah,
movement. I'm not remember
yeah,
when it was specifically, but it was one of the first idea that installed in my head, the idea that I could
uh,
do work with
yeah,
horses and NLP combined.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's different on a different brain frequency. Like there is a way of, I don't know if it in trance it's more, without trance it's less. What is your perspective about how to open people to that growth mindset?
So the question is how to open people to that.
Like if there are states that are people more susceptible or more programmable, and how to help them enter that.
Hmm. Well, I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is how open a child is. That when we're born, we are passionate learners, and a child is just full of questions and full of curiosity and full of playfulness, and that's how they learn. They play. They Everything is kind of like a whole life is a playground of learning. And so then the question becomes, why aren't we still that way? What has killed that inner spirit of a childlike curiosity that has killed it? And mostly the answer is school, and and then grading ourselves as to the quality that we are. We're an A student, we're a B student, we're a C student. That kills the whole thing of learning. And so if we could recover that curiosity and that playfulness, and and so school also does something I think damaging to us. It says we have to know instead of we have to learn. So so a lot of adults have such a hard time saying when they don't know something, I don't know. It's like they're saying they're stupid. But I don't know doesn't mean we're stupid. It means there's more to discover. And if we could put ourselves and other people into states of curiosity, what am I learning today? So when I was raising my daughter Jessica, that was the question I asked her every single day. What did you learn today? And she's a young adult now. When she comes back home, I still ask her every single day. So what'd you learn today? What's new and different? What surprised you? Because I want to keep, and she does. She's really in the spirit of curiosity and playfulness, and we both tease each other about what we don't know, so that we keep the doors and windows of life open to the next discovery.
Wow. You have any more, like, I don't want to say parenting one-on-one, but
Mm.
you do familiar with a lot of thoughts pattern or thoughts behavior or thoughts like, I'm going
Yeah.
to be a dad someday. What are the mind frame that I need to put in my mind so I will be
Yeah.
able to?
So we do have, and I do from time to time do a day's training on Parenting 101. And there is a document on the shop at neurosemantics.com. It's a free document on Parenting 101. And the key thing is to realize that children do not think like we do think. They have thinking, as it were, training wheels. So what's called the cognitive distortions are the ways that children think, which is great for them. But if we as adults still do cognitive distortions, it just messes everything up. So, for instance, a child has to overgeneralize because first you have to overgeneralize, then you can detail it down. So a child will say, nobody loves me, everybody hates me. And then later we say, well, who specifically? Well, it's Johnny who doesn't like me. Um, and so um, understanding that children do not think like adults, they think like children, and knowing those childish thinking patterns. And so I've put a whole list of those childish thinking patterns in that manual, the Parenting 101, so that parents understand, oh, that they're thinking like a child. So, like between 5 and 7, most children go through the period where they first discover that they can keep secrets from mom and dad. So, it's the age of secrets. And before 5, they don't know that. They're so obvious, and we so cal- calibrate to them and read them. Oh, you're sad now. Oh, you're joyful now. And they go, oh, and then around 5, they discover that they can keep secrets from us. And and if a parent knows that, oh, they're just in that stage. But if a parent thinks you're a liar, you're lying to me, you're going to become a lifelong liar and punish them, then it's all because they misunderstand the stage of life they're in. Um, we also know that children around 5, some children that are precocious can begin to do what we call empathy. They can take second perceptual position. But if you tell a child who's 5 or less, I now just think about how your sister is feeling. They can't do that. It's impossible. They don't have abstract skills yet, and some children up to 7 and 8 can't do that. So just understanding how a child thinks and that is so different from adult thinking um, helps us to know how to do some good parenting.
So you took it into a habit to do with her that question, and then you discovered as a you come from a researcher perspective to everything.
Mhm.
And I'm curious if there is a way to install it in other people to be, because I think we need more awareness in the world and more people to do that
Yeah,
kind of a research.
yeah.
So I'm asking about, first of all, if you modeled yourself as a research person, and then how to install it on other people, let's say therapists that want to do work with
So
hope.
this is to answer your question. This is what has led me to now 14 years studying thinking. So 14 years ago, I started looking at thinking, and I started with critical thinking, then creative thinking, and then et cetera. And and the realization that if I want to be a millionaire, I'm going to have to think like a millionaire. If I want to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to have to think like an entrepreneur. If I want to be a doctor, to think like a doctor. So what is the thinking of any particular career or expertise? How do those people think? And and so um, if you're going to be a comedian, if you're going to really bring humor out, so I wrote a little book, Humorous Thinking. Here's how people who do humor, here's how they think. And so just listing out what you would have to take on as a thinking pattern. And the nice thing about thinking patterns is um, try on this thought, now try on the next thought, now try on, and after a while, it becomes your way of thinking. So it's not like it's rocket science. If you want to think like a millionaire, just identify maybe the 10 or 20 key thoughts and key ways of thinking. Um, and and then as you just keep trying it on, after a while, you're going to be thinking that way. So after I did 30 modeling projects, I sat down and thought about um, thinking like a modeler. And I wrote a book by that title, Thinking as a Modeler, to model my own process so that we could get other people doing the same thing.
I think the question about what is the thinking of the result that I want for
Mhm.
me, and I hope for everyone that gonna listen to that, that's a change of life because now I can walk in the world and then just be curious about what result I want, who have it, and then I have a way to ask that, like
Yeah,
to break down the strategy and then to build it.
yeah, exactly.
What
Yeah.
what what are the character of people that are doing that good on that regard?
Say again, what are the
The character of people that are doing modeling good, or what are the patterns of good modelers?
well, they have to be really curious. They have to do the not knowing. So they know how to get the strategy, but they don't know the strategy. And and so they have to have that not knowing and that willingness to ask really dumb questions to find out, what's going on in the back of your mind when you do this or that. Um, they have to play with it. And so playing with ideas, taking an idea, turning it upside down, turning it inside out, just playing with it and seeing what happens. Um, so many people are afraid of being wrong. Once again, I think it goes back to school. We get punished for making a mistake or making an error. And so we have to make errors quicker and more often and learn from them. And when you have that attitude, um, the trial and error way of experimenting. I mean, it's the scientific attitude of let me experiment with this and see what happens. And and so if you have that kind of a attitude, I think you'll be a good modeler because then you'll be really curious and be willing to ask um, the dumbest of questions.
Wow. Like the gift of asking the dumb or the gift of doing the mistakes on
Yeah,
that regard.
yeah.
The I want to ask, I don't know if it's, I think it's going to be the last, unless something will come up more.
Okay.
But if everything was possible, what is your dream for the world, for you?
My dream right now is to take neurosemantics and to help to make it our goal to turn people into better thinkers. 'Cause my sense is, as a human race, we're not good at thinking. We're good at ideologies and beliefs and pushing our agendas and debating, but we're not good at really dialogue or discussion or thinking through things. Um, and it seems like it's getting worse that journalism has turned into that kind of a thing. It's turned into just here's my agenda, here's what we're pushing, instead of let's just get the facts and see both sides. Why can't we disagree in an agreeable, respectful way? Because until we can have really healthy discussions and dialogues, we're not going to work through a lot of the conflicts and distresses that's going on in the world. And so our goal, if I could do anything, it would be to change the schools so that instead of teaching kids what to think, we'll do that a little bit, but mostly how to think. Because I don't think most people know how to think. We know what to think, then we get to be believers in the what, but then the world changes and what we believe becomes redundant. And now we're stuck. And we've got a new learning curve to learn AI or to learn whatever else is coming up. Um, and so I would like to, what we're trying to do is not only be better communicators, but better thinkers. Because underneath communication is thinking. And the quality of your thinking is the quality of your life.
So to improve the quality of the thinking, how or what are the challenges from that? That I'm curious because I think it's the way to create a better world, in my point
Mm.
of view. But
Yeah.
what are the challenges for that, and how are you gonna do it?
So we've put together a training we call Thinking for Humans. And the first day we teach 5 skills that are critical thinking skills. And the first thinking skill is considering. And this is where most people have discussions or they won't even consider something that they don't believe in. And so I'm not asking you to believe it. I'm asking you to just try it on, represent it, and see what happens. Because if I cannot try on your thought, I can't really understand you. I can't really understand where you're coming from or your mental world or how you see things different from the way I see. So the very first skill is the considering skill, and then the questioning skill, to start asking questions about it, to be curious. Our second day is on 5 um, creativity thinking skills. And the third day is 5 executive thinking skills. And so that's one of the ways that we're beginning to do it. Um, uh, and if we could get into schools and help schools teach children how to think, then whatever the content is, whatever the what that they're thinking, whether it's geology, whether it's medicine, whether it's counseling, whatever it is, they would know how to think about it and have lots of skills to have that flexibility.
And it's amazing. The other thing that you're saying, if you want to change the world, start with your children, or like they
Yeah,
will grow up to be the doctor that know how to think, and then they will be more holistically thinking
yeah,
or wise on that.
yeah.
Amazing. Wow. It was really, really, really a pleasure to host you and to help people
Mm,
even to look a little bit or to ask or to consider something different about their process of thinking.
mm.
And thank you for that. Really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah, my pleasure. You know, what all of us do all day long is think. And that thinking, if it's good thinking, will make our lives good. If it's not so good thinking, we can make ourselves miserable. We can make other people miserable. And so once again, the quality of our thinking is the quality of our lives. And just the ability to ask that question, what is the quality of your thinking, can start that process.
How can it be even a little bit better? Like I'm taking from that conversation,
Yeah.
a decision to model it. Let's example,
Mm.
I will go with that podcast and interview most of the people that I can,
Mm.
try to model
Yeah.
a way to be better.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate it.